MindSnacks, the podcast. 180 ways to see your world differently. Where science, psychology, and spirit stop arguing and start agreeing. No lectures, no preaching. Just one small idea at a time and the space to make it your own. Press play and let's see it differently.
So, usually when we think about just moving through our day, we sort of picture reality like a finished movie, right? Like we're just sitting in the theater.
Yeah, eating our popcorn.
Exactly. The script is already written, the scenes are all shot, and our only job is to watch whatever happens on the screen. But what if we aren't just sitting in the audience? What if we're actually actively holding the camera?
Oh, I love that analogy. It completely changes the dynamic.
Welcome to episode 6 of the MindSnacks podcast series. We're continuing part 2 today. You know, episode 5 really opened up this new chapter, The Outward Turn, Exploring Love. But today we're continuing that outward turn from a totally different angle. We are exploring how our inner world actually meets reality itself. And hey, if you're a new listener, welcome. Today's conversation stands entirely on its own, so you are in the right place.
You really are. Because today we are diving into what is probably the most provocative core question in the whole book. Does reality just come at us, complete and totally indifferent? Or do we play an active role in shaping what actually becomes real for us?
And to figure that out, we're going to explore 3 specific entries from the book. We're looking at MindSnacks number 16, number 57, and number 141.
Which is a great progression, by the way, because those 3 scale perfectly. We go from the subatomic level to our biological bodies and then all the way up to our actual lived experience. So this isn't just mysticism, it's rooted in rigorous science.
Right, which I really need it to be, because let's jump into the subatomic scale first. MindSnacks number 16, quantum perception. I'm going to lead with some genuine skepticism here.
I wouldn't expect anything less.
Well, the claim that looking at something changes hold on. That sounds like mysticism dressed up as physics. If I look at the coffee cup sitting on my desk right now, it doesn't change just because my eyes are on it.
I know, it sounds totally bizarre. But the doorway into this concept is completely grounded in hard physics. It starts with Werner Heisenberg.
The uncertainty principle guy.
That's the one. He has this famous quote, "Looking at something changes it." And he wasn't just being poetic or philosophical. He was describing a literal, mathematically proven phenomenon called the observer effect.
Okay. Break that down for me in plain English. What is the observer effect?
Basically, in the quantum world, so we're talking about the absolute foundational layer of our universe, subatomic particles matter doesn't actually exist in a fixed permanent state when no one is looking at it or measuring it.
Wait, really? It's just not there?
It exists as a spread of possibilities, like a blur of potential locations. It's only when you measure it, when you observe it, that it shifts into a definite form. Think of it like a photograph developing in a dark room when the light hits it.
Oh, wow. So before the light hits, it could be anything, but the observation forces it to choose.
Yes, exactly. And that touches on Heisenberg's uncertainty principle, too.
Yeah.
Reality, at its absolute foundation, doesn't have fixed answers until we actually ask the question.
Okay, so processing that science, it really reframes the central insight from this section. I think the key line that really lands it is, reality is not waiting to be seen, it's waiting to be shaped.
Yeah, that line is huge. It completely flips how we view our place in the universe.
You know what it reminds me of? Have you ever played one of those massive open-world video games?
Oh, sure. Like where you can wander around anywhere.
Right. But the thing is, the game console doesn't actually render the entire digital universe all at once. If it tried to draw every tree and every mountain across 1,000 miles simultaneously, the computer would just melt.
It would crash instantly.
Totally. So to save energy, the game engine only fully renders the landscape when your character actually turns the camera to look at it. Before you look, everything behind you is just raw code. It's just mathematical potential. Your attention is literally the rendering engine.
That is such a brilliant way to explain it. And what's wild is that philosophers figured this out way before video games or even quantum physics existed.
Really? Like who?
Well, Immanuel Kant, for example. He proposed this idea called transcendental idealism. Basically, the philosophical idea that we never see reality directly. We only ever see it through the built-in categories of our own mind, like space and time. Our mind isn't just a mirror, it's an active filter.
That makes a lot of sense. And there's actually a really cool mention of this later on in MindSnacks number 90, which is about quantum choices.
Oh, right. I remember that part.
Yeah, it talks about how you don't always have to force change. Sometimes it's just about aligning your attention with the version of life you're trying to step into, like turning the camera in the game.
Right. Whatever you sustain your focus on is what gets rendered.
Okay, so I can kind of wrap my head around the weird rules of subatomic particles, but let's transition to the biological scale, because this is where I get skeptical again.
Bring it on.
We're looking at MindSnacks number 57, the belief signals. Can a belief really change your physical body, though? Isn't that a massive stretch?
It sounds like a leap, for sure. But the hard science doorway here comes from Ted Kaptchuk, who is a major researcher at Harvard. He says the placebo effect is a window into the power of expectation.
Okay, but a placebo is just a sugar pill, right? Like, people just think they feel better?
That's the common misconception, that it's just in your head. But Kaptchuk's research at Harvard shows that belief alone causes measurable biological healing.
Measurable how? Like actually changing the body?
Yes. When patients take a sugar pill, but they expect it to relieve pain, the brain literally synthesizes its own natural painkillers. Or, in Parkinson's patients, it can alter dopamine levels. The belief triggers real, measurable biology.
Even if they know it's a sugar pill, I thought I read somewhere that placebos work even if you tell the person it's fake.
You did. They're called open-label placebos. Even when patients are explicitly told, hey, this has no medicine in it, their bodies still often produce a healing response because the ritual of care and the expectation still send a signal.
Wow. Which really drives home the core message here. Belief isn't just some abstract thought sitting in our heads, like a philosophical idea. The central insight is belief is not only a thought, it is a biological signal.
Precisely. It is an instruction that the body acts on.
And that connects directly to predictive processing, right?
Exactly.
I was reading about this. The way neuroscientists explain it in everyday language is that your brain is basically trapped in a dark box, your skull.
Right. It doesn't actually see or hear anything directly.
Yeah, exactly. It just gets electrical signals. So it's constantly generating these best guesses about what should be in front of us, and then it checks those guesses against our senses. So if our deeply held belief shapes the guess, it literally shapes our physical perception.
That's spot on. And there's a flip side to this that we have to talk about, the nocebo effect.
Oh, right. The evil twin of the placebo.
Yeah. Where a negative expectation produces real measurable harm. If you tell someone a sugar pill will cause a rash, a lot of them will actually develop a physical rash. The brain predicts the threat and creates the biological reality.
That's terrifying, honestly. But it makes sense.
It does. And it really echoes William James's as-if principle. He was a pioneering psychologist who said that acting as if you feel a certain way is actually the shortest path to genuinely feeling it. Your body's actions send signals back to your brain to update its predictions.
I love that. And we see that pop up again in MindSnacks number 99, Fire of Belief, where it points out that belief is essentially the bridge between the mental thought and the physical result.
It's the translator between the two.
Right. Okay, so we've covered atoms and we've covered biology. Now we have to move to the lived scale. MindSnacks number 141, Manifest Grounds. I'd have to press you really hard on this one.
I'm ready. Let's hear it.
Because this is the most provocative part. Okay, atoms react to observation, bodies react to belief. But applying this to our external lives, this is just the law of attraction, isn't it? Like, think positive thoughts and the universe delivers a sports car. That is pure pseudoscience.
It is absolutely pseudoscience, and I'm so glad you brought that up. We need a very vital caveat right here.
Please.
MindSnacks does not view manifestation as magic or wishful thinking.
Oh.
The doorway into the actual science of this is from Stanford cell biologist Bruce Lipton. He says, beliefs are the architects of our experience. And the hard science backing that up isn't some mystical vibration. It's neuroplasticity.
Okay, explain neuroplasticity for us, just in plain terms.
Sure. It's basically the brain's ability to rewire itself. When you repeat a thought over and over, you literally build physical neural pathways in your brain. Those pathways become thicker, faster, and more efficient. They basically act like an inner compass that automatically guides your subconscious behavior.
So it's like walking through a really dense forest.
Yes, perfect analogy.
The first time you push through the brush, it's exhausting. But if you walk that exact same path every single day, eventually you wear down a clear dirt trail, and then it just becomes the natural, easy route you take without even thinking about it.
Exactly. You physically altered the landscape. But, and this is the mandatory caveat we have to include, this is not omnipotence.
Right. We can't just think our way out of everything.
No. You cannot wish away a severe illness. And we have to be incredibly clear. A person's hardship is never simply their fault for, quote unquote, not believing hard enough. That is a dangerous misinterpretation.
Yeah, that turns into toxic positivity really fast. It ignores systemic issues and real-life tragedies.
Totally. Which is why the book draws such a sharp distinction between magical thinking and actual neuroscience.
And that leads perfectly into the centerpiece insight here. Manifestation is not wishful thinking, but sustained focus brought into alignment with our beliefs and actions. Action is the crucial differentiator there.
It really is.
Yeah.
Without action, you're just sitting on the couch daydreaming. But when you combine belief with action, you tap into something called self-efficacy theory.
What's that?
It's from Albert Bandura's research. He showed that what we genuinely believe we are capable of is one of the strongest predictors of our actual outcomes. If you believe you can solve a problem, your brain engages the pathways to find a solution. If you believe it's impossible, your brain shuts those pathways down to save energy.
Wow. So it becomes a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Exactly.
It actually reminds me of the Thomas theorem in sociology. Have you heard of that?
I think so, but remind me.
It's the idea that if we define situations as real, they become real in their consequences, like a bank run. If everyone believes a bank is going to fail, even if it's perfectly fine, they all panic and withdraw their money. And then the bank actually fails.
Because the belief drove the action that created the reality.
Yes, precisely.
You know, it's really wild as a sort of seasoning to all this science. Ancient traditions basically knew this before brain scanners were ever invented.
Really? Like how so?
Well, look at the Hindu concept of sankalpa. It's an intention, but it's held in a state of deep relaxation, letting it sink into the subconscious.
Oh, like planting a seed.
Exactly. And in the Islamic tradition, there's niyya, which is the heart's intention before taking any action. The idea is that the inner state dictates the outer result. And Taoism has wu-wei, effortless action.
Right, where you're so aligned that the right action just flows naturally. You've already built the neuroplastic pathway.
Exactly.
So pulling all these threads together across quantum particles, our physical biology, and our lived daily experience, there's this profound through line. Reality is constantly responsive to where we place our attention and what we sustain.
It really is. I mean, just zoom out and look at what happened in this conversation today. We had a Nobel Prize-winning physicist, a Harvard placebo researcher, a Stanford cell biologist, the Buddha, a Sanskrit yogi, a Hermetic philosopher, and an Islamic theologian, all basically looking at the exact same truth.
That is wild when you put it like that.
It is. Reality isn't a finished painting that we're just walking through. It's an active canvas, and we are painting on it every single moment with our sustained beliefs.
We are co-creators. Everything is connected, and honestly, there are 177 more seeds waiting to be discovered in the pages of MindSnacks.
So much more to explore.
But before we go, I want to leave you with one final thought. Sit with this for a moment. Think of one belief you've been holding about your life, about what's possible for you, what you deserve, what you're capable of becoming. Now, ask yourself honestly, have you ever actually examined whether that belief is true? Or have you simply rehearsed it long enough that your brain has built a reality around it? What might shift if, just for this week, you held a different belief and let your mind and body start building a different reality from there?
MindSnacks, the podcast. If something's shifted the way you see things today, follow along. There's a new idea waiting in every episode. We'll see you in the next one.